Dreams give me wings to fly high above the rain, where storms just pass me by.
Welcome to today's show of Reflections of Unity from the Writings of Baha'u'llah. I'm Joy Wazorek, your host for today's show, and today our guest is Barbara Winslow, who is an authority and self-made authority on dreams. And you might want to get a pen and pencil or a pen and paper, because later on she's going to give people practical suggestions about remembering their dreams and about interpreting them for guidance. So welcome, Barbara.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here.
I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, I have been to a couple of your dream seminars, and they're really wonderful. You've been a Baha'i for how many years?
About 9 years.
And in the Baha'i Faith, there are a lot of teachings about dreaming. Is that right?
Yes, there is. Actually, it's kind of sprinkled throughout all of the holy writings in the sense that we're supposed to pray and meditate and detach ourselves so we can kind of go beyond the earthly plane and kind of transcend, and that's where the world of dreams comes in.
That sounds exciting. But did you get interested in dreaming when you became a Baha'i, or did you?
Actually, it was about 2 years prior to that. My mother-in-law had been recording her dreams for 30 years, and she was able to interpret the family dreams with incredible accuracy, or help the family members interpret their own dreams. And so after her doing this for many years, about 1990, I decided I wanted to remember my own dreams. So I asked her, how do I remember my dreams? And she simply said to me, just repeat over and over before you go to sleep, I'm going to remember my dreams. I'm going to remember my dreams. And I think because of my desire to do so, that worked for me right away. And I started remembering my dreams. And I started writing them down probably 3 or 4 times a week. I was having dreams that I was remembering. Then when I joined the Baha'i Faith in 1992, and I read the holy writings and what they said about dreams, I just took it a little more seriously, and I started recording them on a nightly basis. I just figured that this was my connection with my higher self, my connection with God, and I needed to pay more attention.
So the purpose of remembering dreams is for what?
It's spiritual guidance. It's our connection with our soul. This is something that we've known for 6,000 years. It's nothing new. Every holy book that was ever written speaks of dreams. The Bible has over 700 dreams in it, and it's dreams of just not special dreams of exceptional people, but dreams of ordinary people like you and I. So this is nothing new. 150 years ago, Baha'u'llah came and wrote some new holy books, and his purpose was, of course, to bring humanity together, and he just expanded upon what we already knew about dreams from the other holy books. So it's not like he said anything that was in contradiction of what had been said before, but he expanded upon it so that we could actually get deeper into this world of dreams.
What is the Baha'i perspective on dreams?
Well, the Baha'i perspective is that it's another world, that it's beyond the 5 senses, it's beyond time and space. 70% of our dreams are precognitive dreams, or they tell of the future.
75%?
70%. And this was
70%.
actually came out in the Stanford University back in the 60s, I believe, did at a dream lab where they, paid attention to people's dreams and hooked them up and had them awake, when they had a dream. And that's where they came up with the statistic. So the person that participated in that lab gave me that statistic and said that 70% of the dreams were futuristic dreams. So that's a very good reason to pay attention to our dreams, obviously, because of that. So anyway, the Baha'i perspective is that it's another world beyond this world, and that it's beyond time and space, and that's why we can have precognitive dreams or future dreams that tell us of the future. It's also the 6th stage of spiritual maturity, in a way. Baha'u'llah, who's the prophet founder of the Baha'i Faith, wrote a book called The 7 Valleys, and it was in response to a judge of Sufi philosophy who wanted to get closer to God through prayer and meditation. So this book was written for him in response to that question.
This was in the 1850s?
Probably the mid-18, yeah, around there.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what the year is, but it was around that time.
Okay.
And so he wrote the 7 Valleys for this Sufi who was interested in getting closer to God. And the 6th valley is the Valley of Wonderment, and in that valley, Baha'u'llah speaks of the world of dreams. And I'd like to read that quote from you, or at least a portion of that quote from the 6th valley. In this valley, the traveler is flung into confusion, albeit in the eye of him who hath attained such marvels are esteemed and well beloved. At every moment he beholdeth a wondrous world, a new creation, and goeth from astonishment to astonishment, and is lost in awe at the works of the Lord of Oneness. Indeed, O brother, if we ponder each created thing, we shall witness a myriad perfect wisdoms and learn a myriad new and wondrous truths. One of the created phenomena is the dream. Behold how many secrets are deposited therein, how many wisdoms treasured up, how many worlds concealed. Observe how thou art asleep in a dwelling, and the doors are barred. On a sudden thou findest thyself in a far-off city, which thou enterest without moving thy feet or wearying thy body. Without using thine eyes thou seest, without taxing thine ears thou hearest, without a tongue thou speakest. And perchance when 10 years are gone, thou wilt witness in the outer world the very things thou hast dreamed tonight. Now there are many wisdoms to ponder in the dream, which none but the people of this valley can comprehend in their true elements. First, what is this world, where without eye and ear and hand and tongue a man puts all of these to use? Second, how is it that in the outer world thou seest today the effect of a dream, when thou dost vision it in the world of sleep some 10 years past? Consider the differences between these two worlds and the mysteries which they conceal, that thou mayest attain to divine confirmations and heavenly discoveries and enter the regions of holiness. God the Exalted has placed these signs in men to the end that philosophers may not deny the mysteries of the life beyond or belittle that which has been promised them.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it really is, dreams really are about the soul.
Definitely.
Traveling while we're sleeping.
Mm-hmm. And it's our connection to the soul. So if we're tapping into our dreams, we're connecting to our soul.
Yeah, and the soul, of course, goes places
we can't go.
Yeah. and learns things that come, that we learn from. Why do some people have trouble remembering their dreams?
Well, I think that's also in the Baha'i writings, and I'll read the quote, and then I'll give you some ideas about how you might remember your dreams. This is from Abdul-Baha. Abdul-Baha is the son of the Prophet founder, Baha'u'llah, and this is what he says about why we can't remember our dreams. As to what thou hast asked regarding the dream, think of the dream state as being like the state of being. How often do souls meet and converse with one another, and one later remembers while the other forgets? The world of dreams is like this, and the reason for our forgetfulness is because the dream has not been properly preserved in the depository of the memory.
So we don't practice remembering? Is that it's
precisely?
Is it kind of like a skill to remember your dreams?
It has to be developed just like any other thing that you want to develop. If you were to want to play the piano, for instance, you'd have to practice every day. Maybe in 2 or 3 days you would learn how to play chopsticks, and you'd be very pleased with yourself. But if you wanted to go on and learn something else, you'd have to continue to practice every day. And I think typically if someone makes a child say you're going to play the piano, it's not going to work. So same is true with our dreams. If someone tells you you must remember your dreams, it's not going to work. So the most important thing is to want to remember your dreams. And I think when that occurs, that it naturally follows suit that you're going to do so. And then there are some specific things that can help you do so. But the desire to do so is the most important thing.
Okay, so people have to decide that they're going to remember their dreams.
Right.
And of course the purpose for that is for guidance.
Right.
You know, in their lives. I know that in my dreams that dreams teach me things often about people that, like if I'm having a hard time with someone or I'm having some problems, when I dream that my dreams will tell me something about that person that helps me understand why, you know, these problems are occurring. So I've been doing that for a long time, but I have to say I haven't done it very much recently. This is going to help me get back to it. So when people want to remember their dreams, the purpose is not just to remember them, but to analyze them afterwards, or to interpret them afterwards. But what kind of things would you do to remember your dreams?
Well, I can give you a few guidelines tonight. There's books written on this, so there's a lot of things that you can do, and of course it's different for different people. But I'll give you some real basic guidelines that I hope will be helpful. So hopefully you have a piece of paper and a pencil by now, the people out there, and this will help them, I hope. The first thing that I think is the most important, of course, is to want to do so, because no one can make you want to remember your dreams. Okay. And then from a Baha'i perspective, it would be very important to, which we will get into in the next session we do, not tonight, but next week, to empty our mind as much as possible of what's going on during the daytime, just through prayer, meditation, listening to music, doing yoga, taking a walk, you know, whatever anybody wants to do to empty their mind, but kind of get their mind off the, you know, kind of the hustle bustle of the day, so that whatever is going on in there when you go to sleep, it's more concentrated in one area than going 15 different directions. So the preparation before sleep is important. Okay. And I can testify to the fact that the time spent in that, in relationship to the dreams one has, is in direct proportion, because you know, if we can spend several hours or whatever it takes, or if say we're on a retreat, the dreams that come are incredible, because we're getting away from the world, you know, and the everyday things.
Yeah,
so,
you're really going into yourself.
The effort is really worthwhile in this particular area. The next, probably the most important thing, is to have a piece of paper and a pencil next to the bed with a flashlight or a tape recorder, so that you can record your dreams. As soon as you wake up in the morning, or sometimes you're woken up in the middle of the night and you have a dream, and it's an incredible dream, and you say to yourself, oh, that's a great dream, I'm never going to forget that dream, you know. You wake up in the morning and you forgot it, because so it's much more important to write it down. Just use the flashlight and the pen and pencil and write down just a few key words. You don't have to write down the whole dream. You just write down maybe the people that are in the dreams, the scenery, the feeling, you know, if there's a color or something. And when you wake up in the morning, those key words will help you remember the whole dream. You don't have to write down the whole dream. So that then you don't have to get really awake, you know, you don't have to wake up completely. So that's probably the next most important thing, is once you've decided to do it, you have to have the, you know, the tools there ready to do it. If you have a specific question, feel free to ask it about anything, about problems in your life. You were mentioning that your dreams helped you with that.
So you formulate a question.
Precisely. You have.
Would you write that down? Or?
The dream expert suggests that you write it down and think about it during the day.
Okay.
As you go about your daily chores or go to work. And then in the evening you come home, you go through your process of kind of emptying your mind in whatever way that works for you, you know, meditating or listening to music or whatever. And then you take that question to bed with you, you know, on a piece of paper. Some people say literally sleep on it, put it under your pillow. Other people say just put it next to your, you know, your bedstand. It's probably very important not to have paragraphs. It's probably better just to have a simple sentence, you know.
Make it simple.
Make it simple, so that as you're repeating this over and over as you're going to sleep, you're not going through a lot, because you just simplify it. And then if you need to have more detail on it later, you can.
So you repeat it as you're going to sleep.
As you're going to sleep, or if you don't want, just in your mind, you know, just think about that. And actually, if you've emptied your mind of other things that have gone on that day, it's easy to do that. If your mind's cluttered with all the stuff going on during the day, you're probably going to dream about what your mind's cluttered with, right? And you won't dream about the question that you've asked. So this is just for people that want to ask that question. Yeah. You know, not people. Sometimes people just want to dream whatever they happen to dream, and that's perfectly fine, because it's always good divine wisdom. It doesn't matter.
Give me an example maybe of a couple of questions that you've done, or that would be like a format or a simple thing that people would ask?
Well,
to
maybe
start out with?
say a mother and a child, say a teenage daughter and a mother are having troubles with one another. And actually, looking back on it, I did this a lot, and I didn't realize I was doing it. But I would do it in prayer. I would say, well, God, I've never been a mother to a teenage daughter before. Help! And I would, I would pray about it, and I would get answers. And I don't know that I got the answers in my dream, but we can do the same thing in our dream. We'll say, my daughter and I seem to be at conflict with one another. I think I'm a good person. I think she's a good person. So give me some guidance here about how, we can kind of smooth things out here, or make them, or if they're not smoothed out, let me know that this is the way it's supposed to be, and that's okay for right now. But any kind of guidance like that, personal guidance is usually what people often ask. If you're having trouble with somebody at work, and it's always about us. So we don't go into a dream and say, tell me about so and so, how they can correct it. Yeah. It's always about what can I do, because dreams always tell you about yourself, and what you can do to make a difference. Right. Because it's not up to us to ever change anybody.
Yeah. Are there any other things that people can do? Those are great ideas.
Yeah, and they're
if
very
you have
simple,
a problem, yeah.
Probably as far as interpreting and remembering, another really important one I think of as far as remembering, I better go on to that one first, is when you wake up in the morning, if you do have to wake up to an alarm clock, set it 10 or 15 minutes before you have to wake up so that you have time to work with your dreams, write down the details, and sometimes you only remember a little bit of it, so you can actually then drift off to sleep again, or kind of get back into a sleep state, and with the thought in mind of what you remember, and the dream can continue. This happens a lot. Maybe you just remember just a very little bit of it, but being able to lay there an extra 5 or 10 minutes can get you back into the dream. And I've even heard of people that can continue their dreams, go on beyond when they woke up. And I've done that a couple times, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience to be able to go on, let's go on with this. This is wonderful. I want to know more about this. So as far as interpreting is concerned, there's many, hundreds and hundreds of books out there on dream symbols and archetypes, and I think if you get into too complicated of a book, you're going to throw it away and say forget it. So I think a real simple book on symbols is a good start. You don't have to have one. Symbols are very, very logical. For instance, if you have bugs crawling on you in a dream, something's bugging you. It's very logical. So it's not that complicated, but usually I suggest that someone get a good book on dream symbols at the bookstore and just kind of browse through what they have, because there's hundreds and you can pick out one that looks for you. And I have like 5 or 6, but there's one that I use 99% of the time because it's right for me. So
which one is that?
It's called The Mystical, Magical, Marvelous World of Dreams. Okay. And it's by Wilda Tanner. And she's written 3 books on dreams. She's not really well known in the world of dreams, but she approaches it from a very simplistic viewpoint, and it's just it's for it's just for someone beginning. You don't have to have a PhD in dream work to understand her book. So it's a very wonderful book, and I'm sure you can find it anywhere, and if the bookstores don't have it, I'll be happy to order it for you. As far as the interpreting, the feelings you have is very important. So whatever feeling you had about the dream is something you probably need to note first. And then write down absolutely every detail. Do not leave out anything. It's who, what, where, why, colors, scenery. If sometimes there's a title of a book in the dream. Sometimes there's a written statement in the dream. Sometimes it's a location where you've been before. But there's no detail that's not important in a dream. If you're, it's to write down absolutely everything, and then as you go through the books on symbols, and you interpret your dream in relationship to probably what's going on in your life at that particular time, these things they make perfect sense. They become very logical.
I think that's a good way to get started, but it seems to me that when you're interpreting your dreams, that sometimes the symbolism may be different from what's in the book. Do you find
very much
that?
so, and it's just a guideline. The books are just a guideline. 2 people can have the same dream and it means something different. And that's why I was pointing out the symbols, the feelings also are so important, because you may be in a beautiful place and having a feeling of fear, or be in a very scary place and be totally calm. So the feelings that go along with that dream are extremely important. So that sounds very strange until you have a dream like that and you realize that, the feelings are what's paramount. Right. So I think probably the next most important thing is during that time in the morning, or kind of going back a little bit to how to remember your dreams. But during that time in the morning, that 10 or 15 minutes, try not to let anybody come into your space. Maybe you could talk with your family ahead of time if you have a family and say, you know, during 7 and 7:15, you know, Mommy's going to be, you know, paying attention to her dreams, and I, you know, that's my special time. I just have 15 minutes in the morning, because anybody that breaks into that space, sometimes you lose the dreams. And typically, if you even get up and use the restroom or get a cup of coffee, it's gone. So it's best not even to get out of bed before you write down the details of the dream. And then you don't have to go out and you don't have to interpret the whole dream at that time. You can go to work, come home, have those 5 or 6 or 7 key points, and remember the dream. That's enough. You don't need any more than that.
How much emphasis is there in the Baha'i writings about dreams?
Actually, I think there's a tremendous amount. Like I had mentioned earlier, it's sprinkled throughout the whole Baha'i writings, because the purpose for everyone on the face of the earth, not just the Baha'is, but every religion, is to be able to connect with God. Every one of the holy books of every religion speak of these 7 stages of spiritual development, and they're virtually identical. The Christian tradition, it's the 7 sacraments for 6,000 years. It's the chakra system, you know, the 7 energy levels in the body. So it's the 7 sacraments, the energy levels in the body. In the Jewish tradition, it's the tree of life. So there's 10 levels, but there's 10
the
points.
Kabbalah?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
There's 10 points, but they're on 7 different levels. And they're all saying the same thing. They're saying that our purpose on this earthly plane is to become whole again, to get in touch with our spirit and our soul. In every one of these traditions, the 6th level of these 7 levels is the world of dreams, or the intuitive level. And in every one of these religions, the 7th level is something similar to, we call it the valley of poverty and absolute nothingness. It could be called, from a Catholic tradition, becoming a channel for God. It can be called becoming a hollow reed, so God can work through us. But in every situation, it's the fact that we have finally got to the point where we've lost our self-identity, in the sense that we know we're a spiritual being, and we're just being a channel for God to work through us, which is the purpose of every religion that ever was. So you can go to any major religious tradition and find these 7 same steps of spiritual growth.
Well, you're talking about the mystical traditions of these religions.
Yes.
Which is,
yes, that's
the
true.
quest of the
but
soul.
Then, you know, the 7 sacraments in the Christian tradition, I suppose it could be called mystical, but it's still very much incorporated with the, you know, the basic teachings. But it is. It's just it's the mystical path.
Now, I know that some of my dreams, I don't remember my dreams that often. Usually, you know, they're gone by the time I wake up. But I sure am going to get that pen and pencil by my bed tonight. I can tell you. But, you know, some dreams are very vivid, and when I wake up, I remember them. And others are like gone, you know, and sometimes there's a feeling left. Sometimes there's just nothing left. So there's like some are more strong. They're stronger than others. Now, do all dreams have meaning?
Well, the Baha'i writings actually talk about this, and they actually warn us about this, because not all dreams are necessarily meaningful. And from a Baha'i perspective, a lot of it has to do with the state of our soul. If we're really in tune to things that aren't spiritual, then the dreams that we have are going to be colored by what we're in tune to. And I'd like to give you another quote from the Baha'i writings. This is from Abdu'l-Baha again, and it talks about how much attention we should pay to our dreams. And it says that truth is often imparted through dreams. No one who is familiar with history, especially religious history, can doubt. At the same time, dreams and visions are always colored and influenced more or less by the mind of the dreamer. And we must beware of attaching too much importance to them. But he goes on to say, the purer and more free from prejudice and desire our hearts and minds become, the more likely it is that our dreams will convey reliable truth. But if we have strong prejudices, personal likings and aversions, bad feelings or evil motives. These will warp and distort any inspirational impression that comes to us. In many cases, dreams have been the means of bringing people to the truth or confirming them in the faith. We must strive to become pure in heart and free from all save God, which was the purpose for meditation before we go to sleep. Then our dreams, will, as well as our waking thoughts, will become pure and true. We should test impressions we get through dreams, visions, or inspirations by comparing them with the revealed Word and seeing if they are in full harmony therewith. And by the revealed Word, he means here the revealed word of any of the major religions. All the holy books of all the religions are saying the same thing, and they're all from God, from the Baha'i perspective.
Now, we only have a few minutes left, a couple of minutes left. So what would you like to say to people on the subject of dreams?
Well, I kind of like to conclude with the fact of what's occurring here in the world of dreams. The Baha'i writings say that the body is like a cage and the soul is like a bird. And if we prepare ourselves properly, like the quote we just said, the bird is able to release itself from the cage at night and to go to other dimensions. In the next session we do, we'll get a little bit into the dreams, how we can communicate with the deceased or so on, or see into the future. So I'd like to actually end it though with this quote that talks about what I just mentioned about going to other dimensions in our dreams, and it also talks about the visions we see in our dreams and the signs. So this is an evening prayer from the Baha'i Faith, and I just like to read it verbatim.
Okay.
O my God, my Master, the goal of my desire, this thy servant seeketh to sleep in the shelter of thy mercy, and to repose beneath the canopy of thy grace, imploring thy care and thy protection. I beg of thee, O my Lord, by thy eye that sleepeth not, to guard my eye from beholding aught beside thee. Strengthen their vision that they may discern thy signs, and behold the horizon of thy revelation. Thou art he before the revelations of whose omnipotence the quintessence of power has trembled. No God is there but thee, the Almighty, the all-subduing, the unconditioned.
So really that prayer talks about, and I guess in the Baha'i writings and in all the religions, it talks about being able to spiritualize your life by, and one of the ways of doing that is through dreams.
Yes. And it's actually the step, it's a step that's absolutely necessary if our intention is to become a channel for God on this earthly plane.
Yeah.
And that's the intention of every religious person, is to serve God in the best possible way.
Sure, and I know in every religious tradition it says, if you want to know God, know yourself.
Yes, and this is the most perfect way of knowing yourself.
Yeah.
We don't always hear what we want to hear, but we will get to know ourselves.
Well, that's the hard part, facing the stuff you don't want to hear.
And that's sometimes why we want to throw the dreams out, but we can't throw any of them out.
Yeah. Okay, Barbara, I want to thank you for being on the show today, and we'll see you next time, and we'll learn more about dreams and dreaming, and as a form of guidance and as a way of spiritualizing our lives, actually, which is gaining wisdom. Thank you for watching Reflections of Unity from the Writings of Baha'u'llah.